Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. On this channel, I look at visual storytelling, whether that's through illustration, comic books, film, and try to really understand the design decisions of some of my favorite films and media in order to better understand that as an illustrator, as an artist, as a comic artist, which is what it is that I am. So today we're going to be looking at the cinematography of the creator, and we're going to be making some notes and some observations about some of the design decisions it is that I've seen the cinematographer and the production and costume designer. What kind of design decisions were made by the film's crew in order to create this visually compelling film? Now, if you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend you go and check it out. It's one of my favorite science fiction films that I've seen in the last couple of years. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. And yeah, so the first thing I would notice is that much like in most science fiction films that you'll see, there is this dichotomy between cool and warm colors. And actually, that's something you'll see in most films, period. But in science fiction films, it's much more pronounced, where you have very strong cool colors and warm colors. These are usually represented as orange and blue. So, for example, if you saw my Blade Runner film analysis series, I also made a comment that this was something that the concept artist Sid Mead incorporated into his designs for the Blade Runner film. This play off of using the cool blue colors to represent something that is artificial, something that is sterile and uncaring and invasive, whereas using the warm colors to associate to be associated with something that is human, something soulful, compassionate, and usually has some sort of a kind of a soft glow to it, right? So let's go ahead and let's look at that element and how it's used in the creator. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is the design of these two different robots it is that we have here. On the bottom, in this one, we have the monk robots of the rebel faction that we see at the end of the film. Uh, Now, right from the bat, we have these robots that have this orange design to them, right? Or they have this orange monk's robe to them, right? But we can also notice that it's actually in the design as well. There was strong design decisions made in order to make you associate these with something that feels a little bit more human, a little bit more dignified, right? So we have the use of orange in the helmet design itself, but we also have like this clear divide between different facial features. Like we could say that this protruding white shape here is like a cheekbone, and that cheekbone divides into what we can say is a mouth with this jaw here, and then we have this other touch of orange. You could even see these little pistons that are coming up are very much like the muscles in our neck. And there's also this hole in the side of the head, which is very similar to an ear hole, right? And this is something that's carried over in the designs of the android robots that have the human skin over them, such as this character here, which is it's a great shot. We have this farmer who's working in the field, and we have this circular shape here. So these are different shapes and different colors that are associated with something that is human, right? We see that also with this soft light, this warm light that's touching the farmer, and these earthy colors. We see it again here in this moment between the two main characters. This kind of loving moment. It's almost like a sepia tone that takes over the scene, right? And then by contrast, we can look at scenes of the Nomad, and we see this very strong blue color. And again, like I said, that's obviously this blue is there to be associated with something that is artificial. But we also notice that there's an invasive quality to this scene with this light here. This light, it feels like it's intruding into your personal space with how bright it is. And I understand that this may not be the nomad itself. It may be like the moon or something behind it that's illuminating it. I'm not exactly sure. But this is not coincidental that we also see something similar to that in this shot here. Again, we have this other element of the family that's sitting in the car, the color and the lighting that is coming from the right, from screen right, is very warm, and that's coming from the games that the kids are playing, right? And so, if you remember this scene, or if you've seen the movie, you know that this is when they're trying to escape. The two main characters are trying to escape, and they meet up with this family, and so that family is associated with warmth, and then we're seeing this very sterile, authoritarian light that is coming in from left of screen, and it's invading into the personal space of one of the protagonists here. Again, we have like these very solemn blue colors that are associated with this moment of reflection that this character is having. We see a lot of blue and orange used in this set design, right? We see it carried through everything from the signs, but the atmosphere itself is very blue, and then all the signs and whatnot fall into warm colors, right? And then again, we see the design here of the enemy robots that are trying to kill the protagonists. These do not have the same human quality to their design. We see there's still a circular design here. We can see it here, but that circle is turned on its side, and it's not an open space for anything to pass through. It's closed off, and in that same way, our ability to connect to it is very closed off because the design of itself does not look human. We don't have those pistons that were coming up from the collarbone of the robot. We don't have a clear subsection between a forehead and a jawline. Instead, we have this thing that almost looks like it was probably inspired by insects or something along those lines. We have this dividing line that's right here that feels very alien. It feels like it feels very inhuman, right? And of course, that's what they're associated with, right? And in other scenes, we see the same thing carried through, right? This is an interesting design decision because we have this rebel robot here, and he is covered in a kind of a grayed out blue, right? But we also see that there's some grayed out orange here as well, which is interesting. So he's kind of somewhere in between. It's almost like the visual storytelling element here is that this violence that these rebel robots are having to commit is somehow it's corrupting them. It's having an influence on them that is not positive, right? Um, because we can see that this orange that maybe was once very vibrant and bright is now been dimmed down into this kind of soft gray. But we see that there's still a lot of human elements to the design of this character, right? There's this clear distinction between the top of the head and the bottom, the eyes here, and of course these muscles that are coming out from the collarbone, or these pistons that are coming out from what would be a collarbone, right? Again, we see this use of blue. I don't remember if this is the enemy's ship or if this is used by the farms. But again, we see this use of blue and we see the use of orange. in the design itself. Same thing goes here with this design. This is such an awesome shot. All right, let me fill the screen with this, and we'll end it on this one. Such an awesome shot. We have the protagonist walking towards the antagonist and his crew, and we see them illuminated in a blue backdrop by these orange lights. And in this scene, it's almost like these orange red lights are kind of signifying a sense of danger, that the character is walking into a place of danger. And it seems almost like this ship that they've just come out of is something that it's coming out of the mist, and it from a distance it almost looks like two eyes that are peering into you, these two alien eyes, which are very similar to what we were talking about with the design of the robots themselves, right? It feels like something is looking at you, in a sense. Something sinister is looking at you. So yeah, so if you're an illustrator, if you're an artist, and you want to see more tutorials like this, please feel free to check out my channel. I'm an illustrator and a comic artist. You can also find my process here. I do these tutorials weekly in order to just go through and look at different things it is that I can learn from other people's work in order to improve my own sense of illustration and storytelling. So thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you all guys next week. Take care.